The Galactic Council had made their decree absolute. Silverwing, the ancient dragon empress of the Draconis Nebula, was to be exiled for her barbaric methods of warfare. The sleek, crystalline beings of the Council believed in precision strikes, calculated diplomacy, and emotionless combat. Silverwing believed in fire, fury, and protecting her people at any cost. Rocky watched from the observation deck of the human diplomatic vessel as the enormous dragon descended onto the barren moon of Kepler 442c. Her scales, once radiant with silver light, were dulled by defeat. Her wings, capable of spanning 3 city blocks, dragged behind her like tattered banners. The other species had gathered to witness her humiliation. The Zephrons with their gaseous forms, the crystalline architects, the insectoid Clixians. None offered sympathy. "She looks broken," Loya whispered beside him, her dark eyes reflecting the dragon's distant form through the viewport. Rocky nodded, his jaw tight, broken but not defeated. Look at her eyes. Even from this distance, even through the shame of exile, Silverwing's golden eyes burned with an inner fire that refused to die. She stood alone on that gray wasteland, abandoned by her army, betrayed by her allies, condemned by the galaxy she had protected for 3 centuries. "I'm going down there," Rocky said suddenly. Loya grabbed his arm. "Rocky, no. The Council forbade any contact. They'll revoke our trading rights, maybe even declare us hostile. Let them." Rocky pulled free gently, turning to face his partner. "We're humans, Loya. When did we ever let the powerful dictate how we treat the powerless?" Something flickered in Loya's expression. That same stubborn fire that had made humanity survivors when every other species had written them off as primitive. She smiled just slightly. "You're going to hug an exiled dragon, aren't you?" "Probably. That's the stupidest, most human thing I've ever heard." She grabbed her jacket. "I'm coming with you." The shuttle landed with a hiss of hydraulics against the moon's surface. The atmosphere was breathable but cold, each exhale creating clouds of mist. Rocky and Loya walked across the gray expanse, their boots crunching against crystalline dust. Silverwing watched them approach with suspicion. She was magnificent even in defeat, 30 meters of muscle and scale with horns that curved like ancient crowns. When she spoke, her voice resonated through their very bones. "Humans, you risk much by coming here. The Council will not forgive this trespass." Rocky stopped just before her, looking up at the Dragon Empress without fear. "We've been trespassing since we left Earth. It's kind of our thing." Silverwing's eyes narrowed. "Have you come to mock me? To witness the fall of the great Silverwing?" "No," Loya said, stepping forward beside Rocky. "We came because no one should be alone when the world turns its back on them." The dragon's expression shifted, surprise perhaps, or confusion. "I am a warrior of the old ways. I have burned worlds and shattered fleets. The Council named me barbaric, and perhaps they are right." "Maybe," Rocky said, "but they called us barbaric too once. Said we were too violent, too emotional, too unpredictable to join the galactic community." He smiled grimly. "They weren't entirely wrong. Then why defend me?" Rocky looked at Loya, then back at the dragon. "Because barbaric doesn't mean wrong. You protected your people. You fought when diplomacy failed. You chose strength over surrender." He took a deep breath. "That's not barbarism. That's survival." Silverwing lowered her massive head, bringing her eyes level with the 2 humans. For a long moment she studied them, these strange creatures who had crossed the stars on chemical rockets in sheer stubbornness, who had clawed their way into galactic society despite being told they didn't belong. "Your species is young," Silverwing said quietly. "Why risk everything for an exiled dragon?" Rocky didn't answer with words. Instead, he stepped forward and did something that made Loya's heart skip. He wrapped his arms around Silverwing's scaled snout, pressing his forehead against her scales in a gesture of pure, unguarded compassion. The Dragon Empress froze, her massive body going utterly still. In 300 years of war and conquest, diplomacy and betrayal, no one had ever offered her such simple kindness. "Because you're not alone anymore," Rocky said softly. Something broke in Silverwing then. Not her spirit, but the walls she'd built around it. A sound emerged from her throat, something between a growl and a sob, and tears of liquid silver streaked down her scales. Loya joined them, placing her hand on Silverwing's scales. "We're good at being outcast," she said. Let us show you how we survive. 6 months later, the Clixian swarm came. They descended upon the outer colonies like a plague of locusts, overwhelming every defense the Galactic Council could muster. The crystalline architects shattered under the assault. The Zephrons dissipated. The Council's precision tactics meant nothing against an enemy that valued only consumption. The call for help reached the barren moon of Kepler-Formataundekraki, stood in the command center of what was no longer a place of exile but a fortress. Around him, human engineers worked alongside dragon warriors, combining ancient draconic power with human ingenuity. Loya coordinated from the tactical display, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "They're asking for help," she said, looking at Rocky. "The same council that exiled Silverwing." Rocky turned to the Dragon Empress, who stood in her full armor, wings spread wide, her army assembled behind her, not just dragons now but humans, and a growing number of species who had been deemed too primitive or too barbaric for the Council's taste. "What do you say?" Rocky asked. Silverwing's golden eyes blazed. "We show them what the exiled can do. The Battle of the Outer Rim would be sung about for generations." Silverwing's army descended upon the Clixian swarm with fire and fury. With human tactical brilliance and draconic might, Rocky led the ground forces, Loya coordinated the fleet, and Silverwing burned through the enemy ranks like a star going supernova. When the smoke cleared, the colonies were saved. The Galactic Council offered their gratitude, their apologies, their promises of restoration. Silverwing declined them all. "I have found my army," she said, standing beside Rocky and Loya on the bridge of their flagship, not in the polished halls of the Council, but among those who understand that survival requires more than precision. "It requires heart," Rocky smiled, looking out at the stars. "Welcome to humanity's philosophy. We've been barbaric since day one." "And proud of it," Loya added. Silverwing laughed, a sound like rolling thunder, and the galaxy learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate the power of an exiled dragon who found humans willing to stand beside her, because humans don't just survive. They thrive, and they never, ever abandon their friends. The end.